Hello again, my friends. Welcome to another video. My friends, my Star Trek fans in particular, because I've got another little goodie. We're doing the build, the Enterprise NCC 1701D, formerly Eagle Moss, and now it is by FanHome. And I'm thrilled to show you guys the next shipment in the build, the Enterprise NCC 1701 from FanHome. And I don't remember what shipment. I don't remember if it was 24 or I don't remember. We'll find out when we open up the box. So without further ado, let's take it over to the desk and I'll show you guys what's in this shipment. This was Star Trek Enterprise Build Up issue number 22. So let's check it out. And we're going to go through every one, but I just want to kind of show them to you really quickly. We have issue number 86. We got more of the outer part of the hull, escape pods, and we have a metal section of the hull. You can see the Aztecing. We've got another section of the frame, the saucer section. This is 83, and we've got a outer part, or actually it looks like this could be phaser array. Nice. Let's see, we got number 84, and we've got a lot of windows on here. And you can see the section where the windows are going to go into. And we got the backing for it. You can see where the lights are going to go. And lastly, we got issue number 85. And we got the outer part of the primary hull, some escape pods. We got more windows for the secondary hull, and we got another metal part of the primary hull. Let's see, and lastly, we've got the magazine. We got shipment number 22, and look, we got to see a beautiful picture of the model. And that's everything in the box. So let's put the box aside. Issue 22. And you can see what's coming up in this issue. The sections that we're going to put the parts on, the episode guides, and this is FanHome, fanhome.com. We move on where we actually have the parts list. We got stage 83, and that was the pretty basic. It's got the frame and the outer part of the primary hull, and then 84 we have more windows. We got another section. 85A, again you can see the windows and the parts of the hull, as well as 86. So these may not be sexy, but we do have to continue building the primary hull. So we're moving on to the assembly for stage 83, and it shows you the parts of the ship that we're going to be working on. And as usual, we have the key. Red is used for screws, arrows, and connection points. Yellow is for the new parts in each step. Gray shows the assembly so far, and blue shows the illuminated parts. All right, moving on to step A. Like we did last time, we open up the wires around the LED, and we have to use that little clip to put it in to keep it in position. And you can see how we're going to actually use it for the frame. Take the lower skeleton 83A and fit the other deck panel light 83D as shown using one LED bracket. And we're going to be using an AM screw for that. And you can see how it's going to go, how they want us to put the light into position right along the outer part. And we're putting in the frame. And there's a lot of screws. We got BM screws and FM screws to hold this in place, and we have one lone AM screw right there. You can see we're going to put it into the circuit board, thread the panel light fitted in step B through the skeleton as shown, and plug it into the B socket on saucer PCB2. And that's the one that's in the middle. Turn the saucer on, and that's my favorite part. And we're going to make sure that it's working, so that one is going to light up. Stage 84, we're going to be working on the upper part again, the lower part. You can see the section. And we're going to line up the windows the way they look on screen. The room lights that are on, room lights that are off, and we're going to put the backing on, and it's going to be held in place with BP screws this time. And we're going to put some lights into the frame again. Take your main saucer assembly and thread the deck panel lights through the skeletal picture as shown. Then plug them into the A socket on the PCB3, and that's the one that has the least amount. That's the newest one that we put in. Now take your deck panel assembly and thread it through, and we're going to plug it into the A section as well. And we're going to put it on to the other section that we just did. We're going to complete the pie section, and you can see how it's going to look after it's on. And that was what the phaser array was for that I was telling you guys about. And then my favorite part is testing all the lights. Really fun. Step D, we got the backing or the windows that are going to go on the secondary hull, around the dorsal hull, that area. And we're going to test them out, make sure that they're working. And it's BP screws that are going to hold them in place. Stage 85, we're going to be working on the secondary hull and the bottom of the primary hull. And this one is all escape pods held in place, and then we put on the outer section. Then position the outer panel along the edge of the deck panel and secure with 2 IM screws. And eventually we're going to put that into place. So slowly but surely we're going to be closing up the primary hull, and we have the escape pod that's going to hide the screw. And then we have the backing that's going to go on to the secondary hull. But that's it. We're just going to leave it like that. On to stage 86. Again, the sections we're going to be working on. And we got more escape pods with the outer part of the hull. And we're going to put it onto the frame. And you can see the section, the glue, the screw that we're going to use is going to be covered up with that special piece. And we have to run the one of the LEDs onto the outer part. So one of those is going to be flashing, a beacon. And we go back to the secondary hull part, and we're going to use the BP screws after we put the lights in, and that's going to be held in place. And then we get to test it out, and we see that all the lights are working. And then we actually take the FM screws, and we're going to put the circuit board into position. We're going to fasten it down, and you can see we're actually going to connect the nacelle pylon frame to the secondary hull frame. Love it. So she's starting to come together. And we're going to put that into the, let's see, does it say the spaces? Position the battle section middle assembly on the battle section upper bracket as shown. Then secure with 8 DP screws and 4 CP screws, taking care not to trap any of the cables as you do so. Yeah, don't find out the hard way like I do, because if you put the wires get stuck in between the frame, they're going to pinch and they're going to actually snap. Then you can see what we're going to put it into. We're going to have the FM screws holding the circuit board in place with FM screws, and we're going to plug that in, and it shows you the bottom. Plug the 3 sets of lights from the nacelle pylon assembly and the 3 sets of lights from the battle section middle assembly into the battle section PCB board as shown. Stage 86 is now complete. So these aren't overly difficult, but it does need to be done. They are basic. So one of my favorite parts is we're going to go through the episode guide. This episode is the game, and I don't know if you guys had remember, they come back and they actually have this little, like a game that they're playing, but slowly everybody gets addicted to it because it actually gives the crew members a euphoric kind of feeling while they're playing. And of course, the only ones that are immune are Mr. Data, and Wesley Crusher knows that there's something wrong. This is episode 5.6. And this premiered October 28th of 1991. And this is The Game. Will Wheaton's first Season 5 appearance is equally well remembered for his fellow guest star, Ashley Judd. Wesley Crusher's return to the Enterprise coincides with the arrival of an irresistibly addictive game on the ship. The game devices were made by property master Jim Mees out of telephone headsets. This one is worn by co-star Diane M. Hurley, the mother of pop star Anastasia. A couple of light years can't keep good friends apart. Wesley Crusher to Robin Leffler. Catherine Moffat, who played Etana, went on to appear as a Bajoran in Star Trek Deep Space Nine as well. Extra makeup was needed to hide Brent Spiner's chin injury during the corridor scene with Will Wheaton. Mr. Data, of course, one of my all-time favorite Star Trek characters. Okay, moving on. And this is a real tearjerker, at least for me, because Mr. Spock is my second all-time favorite character. And anything to do with Spock or his family is very special to me. I love it. This is Unification, and this is episode 5.7, and it premiered November 4th of 1991. Rick Berman and Michael Piller wrote the story. Picard and Data go undercover on Romulus in search of missing Federation Ambassador Spock. Unification 1. Leonard Nimoy's long journey to the next generation is prefaced by a final farewell to Mark Leonard as he played Sarek. And he was acting totally un-Vulcan-like. As Kim Dokachin, Graham Jarvis was the Next Generation's second and final named Zakdorn, after Surma Kohlrami in Season 2's peak performance. He didn't even say goodbye to his father before he left, Perrin about Spock. Les Landau directs Mark Leonard. The pair had previously worked together in Season 3's Sarek. I wonder if he's any relation to Martin Landau. And look at that. That's really cool. Patrick Stewart's Romulan makeup test. Without a wig and upper edge, the prosthetic is clearly visible. The mystery ship encountered in Surplus Depot Z-15 was an extensive modification of the Hunsick warship model, built for the survivors in Season 3. Other miniatures can be glimpsed in the scenes include concept versions of the USS Excelsior and space dock built for Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. I love the miniatures. I'm not a big fan of the CGI. Father and son, both proud, both stubborn, more alike than either of them, are prepared to admit Jean-Luc Picard on Sarek and Spock. And we've heard Amanda say that in the original series as well. Journey to Babel, I believe. Left to right, guest actors in Unification 1 include Karen Hensel, Admiral Brackett, later seen as a Bajoran in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Eric Avery, B'Juk, who also played a Bajoran in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, plus Novian in Star Trek Enterprise, Norman Large, Neural, who returned as a Karen in Season 7 of Star Trek The Next Generation before playing the Coherian in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and both Kazan and the Akpama in Star Trek Voyager. and Malachi Throne as Pardak, who provided a television voice for the original 1964 Star Trek pilot episode The Cage before playing Commodore Mendez in the original series Soul two-parter The Menagerie from 1966. I love those little tidbit nuggets, especially when it's involving the original series. Okay, so that was Unification Part 1. We're on to Part 2 now. And I know, guys, I'm a pansy. This is one of the scenes that made me cry. Mr. Spock was saying how he never really knew his father. And that's when Picard offers his father's Katra that he had given to Picard and shared with him. And he's allowing Spock to see his father and share his father like he didn't before. And that scene just gets me every time. This is episode 5.8, and it premiered November 11th, 1991. Captain Picard, Spock, and Data work together to fail a Romulan invasion of Vulcan. Unification 2. Spock takes center stage in a landmark episode that was little loved by its key creators. Vidal Peterson, Datan, later played a young Cardassian in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Your dream of reunification is not dead. It will simply take a different form. Selah. Denise Crosby makes her third and final appearance as Tasha Yar's daughter, Selah, in Unification Part 2. Crosby returned to Star Trek The Next Generation 2 years later to reprise her original role as Tasha in the series finale, All Good Things. And that could be a video unto itself, the whole situation with Tasha's mom, with the Romulans. Okay, and this is one of my favorite parts. We've got the ships and the plans. Star Trek's first Vulcan starships are seen very briefly during Unification 2. A single studio model Wright was built by Greg Jean to represent all three ships seen on screen. And sadly, we lost Greg this past summer. Or this past spring. Following a design by senior illustrator and technical consultant Rick Sternbach, Sternbach's initial concept, top left, was strongly influenced by the Vulcan shuttle Surak as seen in Star Trek The Motion Picture 1979, before he began to explore a much more alien direction, top right. His subsequent plans for the starship above described its distinctive outer ring as an annular warp engine, a concept that would influence the look of other Vulcan ships in Star Trek Enterprise. Greg Jean's model was not seen again in Star Trek The Next Generation, but did feature in 2 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And Greg Jean was a very, very talented man. As a matter of fact, we owe him a great deal of thanks because there was only 2 known tricorders to exist, and he had one, and he allowed the WAN company to completely scan it in to use for the tricorder, as well as the phaser and communicator. But again, that's another video. One can begin to reshape the landscape with a single flower, Spock. And again, Spock is my second all-time character. I love Mr. Spock, second only to the Enterprise herself, the NCC 1701. Leonard Nimoy and Denise Crosby broach the Vulcan-Romulan divide in between takes for Unification Part 2. Patrick Stewart goes without his Romulan outerwear while rehearsing a canteen scene with Leonard Nimoy. Can you imagine being able to sit down with those 2 gentlemen and just being able to pick their brain? Okay, on to the next episode, which is titled A Matter of Time. This is episode 5.9, and this premiered on November 18th, 1991. A traveler in a 26th century time machine complicates the Enterprise's efforts to avert planetary catastrophe. A Matter of Time introduces Sheila Franklin as Ensign Felton. A character is seen at the con in further 5th season episodes. Everyone dies, Captain. It's just a question of when. Berlinghoff Rasmussen. And let's see. I see it as Rick Sternbach's concept for Rasmussen's time pod, designed as a red redress of the full-size alien shuttle prop built during Season 3. Excerpts from Dan Curry's extensive storyboards with the Emmy Award-winning VFX sequence. This is a sequence that really sticks in my memory, he recounts in his book. I love these little tidbits. Is that it? And that is it. That's the instructions and the magazine for issue number 22. So let's get right down to the packaging. We're going to start with 83. And right off the bat, we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of screws. AM and FM. I would love to know how many screws are actually in this model when it's all said and done. And we have the metal pie plate, or the pie wedge, for the frame and the primary hull. And let's see, we've got a bunch of things in here, including what looks like the phaser array. A couple of lights. We got a couple of the brackets. These are going to actually hold the LED bulbs in place on the frame itself. So we got to make sure we don't lose those. And here is a phaser array. It's curved, so I don't think it's going to go on the saucer section. Oh, and we got more screws. These are BM screws. And finally, we've got the LED bulbs that are going to go on the frame. And these are the two-pronged clips. And that's everything in issue number 83. On to issue number 84. Let's get everything out. All right, right off the bat, we've got a couple of nice LED strips. So these are the, let's see, we got two bulbs on either side, and I think this is going to be for the secondary hull. And these have the 4-pinned clips. They're going to go into place. And these have the background. You can see there are two bulbs that are going to go there. Let's see, moving up, we've got a section of the primary hull, and this is the bottom. Now, if they come in a plastic tray, you know they're metal. But when they don't, that's when they're plastic. It'd be nice if every part was metal. But there are plastic parts, and hopefully you can see the Aztecing. And we've got some more lights. I think, yep, they're both the same. They're both double LEDs, and they have the 4-pinned clips. And let's see, we've got clear windows, and one just came off. We gotta be careful with that. So we got 5 on the tree, and we've got BP as well as FM screws. And lastly, we got a couple of trees of the room lights that are going to be dark and the room lights that are going to be lit, as well as a couple of backings. You can see where the lights are going to go, and this is going to hold the windows in place and illuminate them. And this one as well. We got 3. And that's everything that was in pack 84. Moving on, we got packet number 85. All right, first off, we got the IM screws, and we have a metal section of the primary hull. And again, you can tell it's in a tray. And this is where the screw is going to go, and we have a dummy escape pod that's going to go on top. And hopefully you can see the Aztecing. Next up, there's one of the backings, and I think this is going to hold the escape pods in place. And, ooh, look, we see the first color on the outer ring of the primary hull. This is the first piece that actually has a different color on it. Beautiful. And we have some screw packets. What is this? We got FM, and we got AM. And next one was the windows. And this is going to go near around the dorsal hull. And lastly, I want to show you, we can't lose that. This is the escape pod that's going to be pushed into place to cover the screw. And we've got the escape pods themselves. We got 5 to a tree. And that was everything in issue 85. And lastly, we've got packet number 86. All right, so on the bottom part, we've got another packet of screws, and these are BP, and I think these are BP. We have a smaller section of the primary hull, and again, it's metal. It's in the tray, and you can see the Aztecing a little better on this piece. Beautiful. All right, moving up, we got a couple of small pieces, and it's actually the screw cover, and the other one I think is a bracket for the LED that's going to go on the frame. And we got a packet of the CP screws. I'm gonna make sure not to lose those. All right, and we have an IM screw packet, and the IMs go into metal with the M, and we got the backing. You can see where the lights are going to go, and this is for the secondary hull. Lights are going to go in those areas. Let's see, it looks like we got more of the escape pods, and we have another LED wire. We got 2 of them, and that's probably going to go in the backing, and we have the bottom has the 4 pins. And we got another packet of screws, and these are FM. There's going to be a million by the time the model's done. And here is some AM screws. We've got the back that's going to go on the back to keep the escape pods in place. And finally, we have another outer part of the hull, primary hull. And that was everything that was in pack number 86. And that, my friends, was everything in shipment number 22. We had parts pack number 83, 84, 85, and 86. And in my next video, we're going to do the build. What I like to do, if you guys are interested, each shipment that I get, I do 2 videos. The first video is a complete unboxing. So if you guys are wondering what's in any of these 22 shipments up to this point, I made a playlist for this build, and you can check that out. You can go all the way back to package number 1. And then the next video, we're going to build everything. And again, I got a builds video for each shipment going all the way back to part number 21. And this video is just to let you guys know every single thing that came with the parts pack. The next video, we're going to be building, and I'm not going to go over anything that's included because that's what this video is for. So my friends, until we start the build, which will be very soon, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.